All right. Happy Halloween, everyone. Metal Hellbilly here, and I figured what better way to bring in Halloween than ranking the albums of German power slash speed metal band Helloween. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so we can get rocking and rolling. All right. Screen should be shared. So, Halloween, let's kick off this discography here in 1985 with Walls of Jericho, their first major label release, which had Kai Hansen at vocal duties here. So, we're talking about the individual that went on to form Gamma Ray a little bit later on. And I do want to point out the fact that this is not the first Halloween album that I started with. So when I came to it later on in the, discography, it was kind of a little bit of a shock because, well, you're going to hear a little bit later what my first album with Halloween was. But you know what? This is a great, great album overall. It's not really what Halloween came to be known as later on, but for a debut, this is absolutely fantastic. It leans a little bit more on the speed metal side versus power metal, but it's awesome. You really cannot go wrong with this. Great songs on here like Ride the Sky, Guardians. It's a blast front to back. It's not super long. It's great, but I'm gonna put it at A tier because there are albums that I like better. Go ahead, kick my ass. I know. Oh my gosh, Billy, you put that at A tier. It should be an S tier album. All Halloween, or yeah, they're all S tier. Chill, chill. We're gonna get around to that. So, a couple years later, they release one of a two-part. I can't, words are hard. One of a two-part series in Keeper of the Seven Keys, Part One, and this is where Michael Kiske takes over on vocal duties. And I fucking love this album. This album is absolutely phenomenal. We got Future World, we have Twilight of the Gods, Twilight of the Gods, Twilight of the Gods. Just such a great album. This is, in my opinion, this is when they start to form their power metal sound, and this is a power metal classic masterpiece. If you were into power metal at all and this is not in your collection, it absolutely has to go there. And for that purpose, I'm going to put it here at S tier where it belongs. So then they decide, all right, cool. Well, let's release part two a year later, 1988. We have Keeper of the Seven Keys part two, and it's not as good. It's not as good, but it is absolutely amazing. I love this album as well. One of my favorite Halloween songs of all time, actually two, Eagle Fly Free and I Want Out are on this, and that really just kind of elevates it in and of itself. I Want Out has been covered by a lot of bands. I know the first time I actually heard I Want Out was the Sonata Arctica cover, and I was like, damn, this is a great Sonata Arctica song. And then I looked it up and I go, this is not a Sonata Arctica song. Damn it. Damn it, because I love this my favorite band of all time. But with that being said, there's so many great songs on this album. It's amazing. We got to put it at S tier. You can't put it anywhere else. I do want to take a brief commercial break here to remind everyone that this is just based on my taste and what I like. You might like something different, so I want to know below what are your rankings for Halloween. Let me know. Let me know how wrong I am. Throw tomatoes, throw money, please. I could use a couple extra dollars so I could fund that ridiculous addiction that I have behind me. So, oops. So we're off to a really good start. Three great albums in a row. And what do they do after that? They go, hey, you know what? Let's release an album called Pink Bubbles Go 8. Let's do that. Sounds like a really good idea. I want to know who signed off on that title. Who the hell was like, oh, yeah, well, that's a great title for an album, especially for power metal. I mean, power metal is about cheese, but Jesus, Jesus Christ. Uh, all right, so there are some redeeming qualities, minus the stupid album cover with the woman deep throating a fish. I just you can't unsee it once Alan mentioned that that's what that is. Thanks, Alan. Thank you, Alan. From Let's Talk Metal, by the way, go ahead and check out his channel. It's amazing. Alan is a metal aficionado, but some redeeming qualities. Kids of the Century, pretty good song. Overall, it's not terrible, but this is one I want from Halloween. I'm going to put it at C. And that's being a little bit generous there. Okay, C, it's listenable, but yeah. So, you know what? Halloween, we realized we made a mistake. We're definitely going to do something different and better after that, right? It's just we're gonna redeem ourselves. No, they're gonna release the fucking turd of the century with Chameleon. What is this thing? It's absolutely atrocious. I'm sorry. Anyone who thinks this has any redeeming qualities, you're just a fanboy. You're a fanboy. This is honestly hard to get through. It's terrible. I don't even need to say where I'm going to put it. It's going to go in D tier for do not listen to this. It's shit. Okay. Um, if it was put out by some other band, it might be all right. But I think that I refuse to accept that this is part of canon. This is not actual Helloween. This is Helloween on drugs, pretending that there's some other band it's a joke. They're joking. They are joking. So then after that, I think they're like, yeah, you know what? We need something fresh. Let's go ahead. Michael Kiske, I don't know why he left the band. I haven't really delved that too deeply into their history and lore, but they came back. Okay, they decided, you know what? We need a different vocalist. We need something a little bit fresh. So they recruited one Andy Darris, who was actually in, I believe, a hard rock band prior to that. And Andy Darris was a vocalist where at first I was like, I don't know if I really like this dude. The first time I heard his voice, which we're going to get to that in a little bit, I wasn't really sure what to think. However, for his first album with the band, Master of the Rings, in 1994, which was when I was 10 years old, it's a banger. It's a banger. There's songs like Still We Go, which is the album closer, which I think is a great way to close an album. Soul Survivor, another one of my favorites off this album. Really, really good uh, album overall. The pacing is pretty good for a Helloween album. It's not as long as some of their efforts. It's a little bit long at about 50 minutes, but it's still a really good album, and I will definitely feel confident putting it at B tier. It could go up. These things change with time, but it's a good album overall. Speaking of time, Time of the Oath comes out next. Okay, so Time of the Oath was released 2 years later in 1996. And it took everything that they did on Master of the Rings and they improved it. Forever and One, great song. Steel Tormentor, I love that song. It's catchy. This whole album is full of hooks. Great guitar work, great musicianship as per usual here with Helloween, and it's a great blend of incorporating still some of their speed metal elements from earlier on with some more hook laden power metal without getting too cheesy, without getting too over the top. And I think it's great. It's not quite as good as Walls of Jericho, but I will put it there at A tier. And I believe that it is well deserved of the band. So after that, they come back with one of my friends' favorites. They took a big 2 year break. They've been pumping out stuff pretty steady here. And they come back with Better Than Raw. Now, Better Than Raw has a really cool album art cover, I believe, with the witch stirring the brew. She's in scantily clad clothing, which is how I like my witches and my bitches and the ones that don't give me itches. I need to stop. Sometimes I just shouldn't speak. Where were you all? Why do you not stop me? Stop me next time, okay, everyone? This is getting embarrassing. But Better Than Raw is great. They started off pretty well with Push after the intro. Yeah, there's an instrumental, but Push comes out like, holy shit, okay. They're going to be a little bit more aggressive here, and they are. This album is a little bit more aggressive. I think that's why it's called Better Than Raw. Uh, Falling Higher comes right after that, and I think that it is it's the best 1-2 punch on any Helloween album. You can fight me on that. I think they did a really good job here, just kicking off the album on a high note. For that, I'm gonna put it at A tier above Walls of Jericho because I like Walls of Jericho. I get it. It's their debut album, but I'm not one of those people that say, "Oh, the debut album has to be number one, regardless of how much I enjoy the other ones." No, that's not how it works, folks. This is about what I enjoy. What you enjoy is cool. That's great. I've also heard that you like olives. Olives are gross. I don't know how you fucking eat them. Like, honestly, if there is a God, olives were God's way of playing a prank, being like, hey, these look like grapes. Try them. And you're like, yeah, oh, what the fuck is this grape? Someone shit on my grape. Pretty much is what I said the first time I had an olive. But I digress. Metal Jukebox is not going to be incorporated in this ranking because it is not a studio album. I don't know why some places have it listed as if it's like a full length by them. No, 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 no. It does not count. But The Dark Ride comes out next in the year 2000. So Y2K, they figured everything was going to fall apart and they were going to die. So they decided to come out with The Dark Ride, which some people list as goth influence. What? I don't understand that, okay? There's a little bit of grunge in there and goth. You must be on drugs. But my favorite track from the album, If I Could Fly, is awesome. Helloween always has something about flying. You know, they're like, If I Could Fly, banana, which you may have recognized that melody that's going to be coming up in an album soon. But I like this album overall, front to back. It's great. It's not the greatest album, but it is up there, and I would put it on par with Better Than Raw. So I mean, it's top of A tier. It's an A plus album. So they go, okay, we did really well with that one. We knocked it out of the park. They took an extra year off, and in 2003, they released Rabbit Don't Come Easy. Yeah, that's that's the title they went with. Rabbit Don't Come Easy. Not rabbits don't come easy. Not rabbits are hard to come by. Let's use improper English. Rabbit don't come easy. Ballsack get itchy when not shower is the first track on the that's not the first track on the album. I made that up. But you know what? All in all, it's an enjoyable listen. I like Helloween. I like this album. It's a little bit kooky at times. It's a little bit disjointed. It's not their most congruent album, but I own it and I spin it from time to time. So I'm going to go ahead and put it at B tier. It is below Master of the Rings, but it is still a good quality output. Come at me, bro. All right. So after that, they go, okay, let's try to relive the past and do Keeper of the Seven Keys, The Legacy in 2005. I think the biggest problem with this album is not only the fact that it is a double album and it is over 170 minutes long, but the fact that they tried to say, hey, you know what? This is a Keepers album. It is not. The first song, kicking off the album with almost a 14-minute epic in King for a Thousand Years, was a bold move. And I do need to spend more time with this album because it does have some redeeming qualities, but for me, it just seems it's slow. Like when I want to listen to Helloween, I want something that's going to freaking grab me by the throat. I want something that's going to hook me right away. I don't want something that sounds and feels and plays like a progressive metal album. Let me take that sounds out of there. It doesn't sound like a progressive metal album. This sounds very much like Helloween, but it feels like they're trying to drag things out a little bit. And for that, if they trim some of the fat, if they shortened it a little bit, it would be higher than C tier. It definitely goes above Pink Bubbles Go Ape, but it's just a C tier album for me. Sorry. I know some of y'all really like this album, and I understand it, but different strokes for different folks. And yeah, speaking of strokes, I want to stroke off to this next one because Gambling with the Devil is my entry point here to Helloween. I know, 2007. What the? That's when I first started listening to Helloween. I knew who they were. I heard a couple songs, but I never actually paid attention and dug into their discography until I found this out in the wild. I think about this at Best Buy, of all places. Remember back in the day when Best Buy would actually have some good metal releases? I remember, yeah, that is where I got it because I remember being there and I'm like, I love the cover. I was like, yeah, I like power metal. And I really did. I was big into power metal and I'm like, I know these guys. Spoiler, this is my favorite Helloween album. S tier, top. Hands down. I can listen to this over and over and over and over again and not get sick of it. Kill It, great way to kick off the album. Paint a New World, amazing. The Saints, As I Fall. There is not a dud on this album. It is just everything that I want on a Helloween. And I know that Darius has some sort of effects on his voice here, but I think they work really well with his tone. With the frequencies that his voice naturally creates, I think that it works very well, and it's very fitting for this sort of atmosphere that they create with this album. It is just everything that I want from Helloween and more. It's my favorite album, hands down. Nothing else you could say there. So then they come out with is it Straight Outta Hell next, or is it Seven Sinners? Almost, and it's in order here, and I'm looking at it. Seven Sinners, 2010. So 3 years later. Seven Sinners is a good album, but it's a little bit too long-winded. This is my problem with this album. This is my problem with some of the Helloween albums. Like power metal, I get it when you try to make an epic, it can work, but I do think that it really does in some instances harm Helloween's appeal. Now, some of y'all may disagree with me on that, and that's totally fine. But I think that if this album they trim some of the fat, which it's hard to trim the fat from this album because there are so many good songs, I think it would do better. It would be higher in my rankings with that. I like the intro track where the sinners go. Are You Metal is like kind of a stupid name for a track, but it's good. It's just overall, it's a great album, but it is a little bit long-winded. And for that reason, I'm gonna put it at A tier, and it's gonna be right below Walls of Jericho. Got a lot in A tier. Good album though. Good overall. I own it. I listen to it often, so yeah, can't really complain there. Then we have a very divisive album. God Given Right was an album that it seemed like people either hated or loved. My God Given Right has a really, really bad album cover. I think it is absolutely atrocious looking. It is just an eyesore. What the hell is that? Why? Why would you do that? And it seems like this is kind of when they started. Well, most bands started with some of that like shitty looking artwork where they're not really going to pay anyone to do anything. And this album suffers from the same thing as Seven Sinners. It's way too long. I mean, if you get the bonus release here, it's almost an hour and 13 minutes. You don't need that much Helloween. You don't. I don't care. Did I not rank? Did I skip one? I skipped one. I will come back to that, okay? I will come back to Straight Outta Hell. So my God Given Right, it's all right. It's good. It's not amazing, but I'm going to put it at B tier, and it is going to go right below Master of the Rings. I own it. I listen to it, but eh. So let's go back in time, reverse. Let's go to Straight Outta Hell. Straight Outta Hell. The only beef that I really have with this album is the mix. I don't like the production on it. I think it sounds a little bit muddy. It sounds a little bit unclear. It is too long. It's an hour long. This seems to be a theme here with Helloween albums, but you're starting off the album with a 7-minute track that actually works really well. What is it, Nabadia? I don't even know if I said that right. But all in all, I like this album. I own it. I had to pay extra for it because it was out of print. It was like $14 for a used album, which for me is like fucking way too much to pay for a used album unless it's a classic. But I really wanted this in my collection. I'm glad. I'm not mad that I paid 14 bucks for it. But it's going to go in A tier. Surprise, surprise. And I am going to put it right below Walls of Jericho. Right below it. Right below. So that was 2013. Then God Given Right came out in 2015. And it seemed like the band was done. It seemed like that was it. They're done. No mas. We've had a good illustrious career. We are done. That's it. But they decided to pull a fast one on us. They said, "Hey, you know what? Wouldn't it be weird if we had three vocalists and we went with the three vocalists that has been throughout the history of Helloween?" So you had Kai Hansen, you had Michael Kiske, you had Andy Darris, all sharing vocal duties. And I was a little bit nervous, but super excited about this album. And for good reason. They absolutely crushed it. They knocked it out of the park with this one. This is the way to make a statement. This is the way to make an hour plus album actually work. This is just I can't even put into words how much I love this album. I bought it on release day. I was not disappointed. I think I paid 16.95 or something for it, which is a lot of money for me for a CD. If I can get a vinyl for that, cool. But if I'm going to get a CD for 16 plus bucks, I have to really like the band, and I do. And this is definitely going to go in S tier and come at me because I put it above Keepers Part 2. Now you might be like, okay, what about Giants and Monsters? I'm going to be honest with you. I have not spun it enough. I haven't. I've given it a couple spins. It's starting to grow on me. I don't know exactly where it will be in my ranking or discography, but it's good. It's good. I like it. I didn't like it at first, and it's going to continue to grow on me. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So that's my ranking of Helloween. I want to know, do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you even like Helloween? Do you think Helloween sucks? Do you want to kick them in the pumpkin dick? Or do you want to hug their pumpkin balls for everything that they're worth? That this is I asked you earlier to stop me and you didn't do it again. But all right, that's all I got. Folks, make sure that you do sub to the channel, share this with a friend, share this with your grandma and your grandma's dog because your grandma's dog really needs to watch me on YouTube. That is the sole purpose, of the creation of your grandma's dog. And this is fact. You've heard it on the internet. It cannot be disputed. But that's all for me today. Let me know your rankings below. And Mental Hellbilly out. I hope you have a wonderful Halloween and eat so much candy that you shit your pants. Because that would be great.